If you want to resonate with people, you need to learn a few of the tricks of the trade. Hello again, everyone. I'm Eli's dad with Project Eli, where we educate, lead, and inspire. And today we're going to go over a number of different facets to put you in a position where you're able to maneuver with people, to get them to do what you want, to have them help you out, to be more cooperative with you. What are some of the tricks of the trade that perhaps you're ignoring that could help you out a great deal? And I know you've tried some of these and they've worked, but then people tend to forget about them. So join Eli and me. We're going to go over a few of them and let's see if we can't help everybody out a little bit. Now, the first thing to remember, one of the most favorite things that a person can hear is their name. Now, Andrew Carnegie was the CEO, essentially, of U.S. Steel, which was one of the largest companies on the planet back in the day. Now, he didn't know a whole bunch about steel, but he knew how to handle people. Now, as an example, it's been calculated that if you were to evaluate Andrew Carnegie's fortune to today's dollars, he would be the richest American that ever lived. Now, just as it's profitable to model and emulate the winning habits of today's titans, like Bill Gates or Warren Buffett, who are both voracious readers, for example, and one of the signature traits of every human being is the need to feel important, to be recognized, to be noticed. For instance, as any good salesperson will tell you, when you're trying to establish rapport with a client, it's always a good idea to let the client teach you something first before you try and teach your prospect why they should become happily involved with your product or your service. Now, when the client is teaching you, they feel important, and you have courteously allowed them to teach you something. And what goes around comes around. So when it's your turn to teach, your client will offer you the same courtesy. Now, acquiring these skills is nothing more than understanding the nature of people. Here's another one. When a person is giving you an objection to something, whether it's in a sales scenario or not, always let them complete their quote-unquote rant in total, because it'll serve two purposes for you when you let them go on. First, it shows the person that you're listening to them and that you respect their point of view. And secondly, it removes the air out of their balloon, their contrary balloon. What do I mean by that? Well, when you continually interrupt somebody, their focus doesn't become what you're saying, what you're interrupting them with. It becomes the fact that you are interrupting them and not the point you're trying to get across. So it re-energizes their position because they start to assume a defensive posture, a protective defensive posture, both figuratively and in some cases literally, to maintain their position. And most importantly, they pay little or no attention to your position on the subject, because you're not listening to what somebody's saying when you're assuming a defensive posture. You're there ready to, defend yourself and strike out. Keep this in mind, Eli. Logic is digested best when it is served as a calm, full-course meal and not as fast food. Which brings us to our main subject today that falls into the category of understanding and working with people. This is the secret that I was telling you about with Andrew Carnegie. People love to hear their own name. It's recognition. They love to have titles like doctor or professor or coach or even lead janitor. Why? Recognition shows that they matter, that they are important. When I was dreaming about becoming a starter on the basketball team when I was in high school, part of the dream that I would envision would be hearing my name announced for the starting lineup. And now, at 6'1", a guard, 175 pounds, Eli's dad. That was part of the vision. So people love to hear their own names. Politicians are particularly good at that. The rank and file voter, if a politician knows that person's name, he's got that vote for life. In fact, isn't one of our favorite pastimes to be a name dropper? Oh, well, I know him, and I know her, and she said this, and he feels like I do on that. Eli, I'm going to name drop for you right now somebody that I know that's famous, and I'm going to tell you a story about him. The man's name is Fran Tarkenton. Now, Fran Tarkenton was the Tom Brady, the Patrick Mahomes of his day. He was a football player, a quarterback, played for the Minnesota Vikings, New York Giants, of course in the Hall of Fame. When he retired, he was the #1 person statistically in virtually every category there is. Touchdowns, passes attempted, passes completed. You name it, he was the #1 guy. And his nickname was, by the way, Scramblin' Fran. So why did he have that nickname? Because he was somebody that would run around, and he was difficult to catch. He was a little guy, for football. He was about 6 feet tall, and he would run around, and you couldn't catch him. And he would keep the play going and keep the play going, and somehow he would complete the pass. Now, after Fran Tarkenton retired, he made a fortune in business. Here's how he made his fortune. Think about this. Think about ideas that are so simple. Back in the day, before they had computers, you had to get your airplane tickets either in the mail, or most of the time what people would do is they go to a travel agency, or they would go right to the airport and get their tickets there. And what the airlines would do is they put the tickets in an envelope. And the envelope would just say, as an example, Eastern or TWA or whatever the name of the particular airline was, and then it would be like a blue envelope holding it. Fran came up with the idea of selling advertising to go on the envelopes that people received their tickets in. That idea alone made him a fortune. So Fran was a very astute and very good business person. And when I worked with the company where we were selling these legal plans, Fran was essentially my big boss. So one day I got a call from Fran's #1 guy that worked with him, a guy named Scott, that was like his administrative assistant type. He called me. I was fortunate enough to be the #1 producer on Fran's team. Fran specialized in the business side of the legal plans, and I sold some of those. I would go around to the community, to the business people, as well as selling to individuals, all right? But I was a leader in actually both. And so one day they were going to have a presentation in Atlanta, and where Fran has his offices, and Scott said, Fran would like you and your wife to fly down for a few days as our guests. We're going to put you up in the finest hotel in Buckhead, which is a section of Atlanta, and you and your wife will stay there, and we'll take you out for a couple of days, and you get to spend some time with Fran. Now, I had met Fran, shaking his hand. This is Eli's dad, Fran Tarkenton. Okay, but we didn't get a chance to talk because, Fran was somebody that everybody wanted to talk to. So I was going to have the chance to talk with Fran Tarkenton. So got to the airport. They met us at the airport. They brought us to the hotel, and we're in the hotel. And then the next morning, we go to Fran's office, which is right up the street. We go into the office, and you go into the office, and the first thing you see is a life-size statue of Fran Tarkenton. And he received that because he was the most valuable player in the Pro Bowl one year, and that was the prize they gave out, a life. So that statue, where are you going to put a statue of yourself like that? He put it in his office. Smart idea, had a beautiful office. So anyway, I went in, they showed me around the office, and finally I got the chance to sit down and have a talk with Fran. And so when I'm talking with Fran Tarkenton, I said, you know, Fran, my wife and I are going to have a baby very, very soon. And we've decided that whether the baby is a boy or a girl, we're going to name the baby Fran. You should have seen the look on his face, a big smile, and he said, really? And I said, no. What do you think, I'm going to name a baby Fran? All right, Eli, that was you. You want to be named Fran? Okay. Anyway, I joked around with him. He laughed. We had a good time. But that's my name drop, and that's my story about name. Everybody loves to hear their name. That's their, keep that in mind. So, a different story about drawing people to you. One of my friends, who's been a longtime friend, and he's a smart guy, graduate of Harvard. All right, so he's nobody's fool. He's a smart guy, very charismatic person. Every year on my birthday, he calls me and wishes me a happy birthday, and then has some little ditty that relates to whatever age I am to tell me, to share with me. But that's a very meaningful thing for me. Now, do you suppose that he does this, that he has a list of people, and on his calendar he writes down, all right, this is Eli's dad's birthday, this is, you know, Sapo's birthday, this is Bick's birthday, everybody, all my friends have nicknames, all right? You know, he has all of them, and he calls them all on their birthdays. It's a meaningful thing. And that's part of the reason why he's not perhaps, is the most popular person amongst all of my friends. He does little things like that, right? When he listens to you, he listens to what you're saying, he makes jokes, he's in tune with you. These are the tricks of the trade to draw people, to have a little magnetism, to have a little charisma. So keep in mind the things, Eli, that we went over today about remembering people's names, jotting down maybe their birthdays, giving them a call, a personal call. Don't send a text. Call, talk. A text is impersonal, an email is impersonal. Get on the phone and call them, or better still, if you can, pay them a visit. But these are the things that endear people to you. And when that happens and something comes up and you need a little bit of a favor, it'll work to your benefit. Also, it creates a nice feeling between two people. And because we will never end a meeting on a philosophical note, let's get out there and charge! I'm Eli's dad.